The forest loomed ahead. Twisted branches clawed at the fading light. We stood at its edge, the air thick with the smell of damp earth and decay.
A shiver ran down my spine. "Are you sure about this?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper.
My brother, always the adventurer, just grinned. He pushed past me, leading the way into the trees. The last rays of sun vanished, swallowed by the dense canopy above. Darkness pressed in, heavy and absolute. The path beneath our feet was barely visible. We stumbled over gnarled roots and fallen branches. The silence was broken only by the sound of our own breathing. Or was it?
A twig snapped. I jumped, my heart pounding. "Did you hear that?" I hissed.
My brother froze, listening intently. A low growl seemed to rise from the depths of the forest. We exchanged a nervous glance. Something was watching us. We pushed onward, our pace quickening. The air grew colder, the darkness more oppressive.
Then we saw them, deep gouges in a nearby tree trunk, fresh and ragged, claw marks.
A pair of eyes glowing an eerie green appeared in the undergrowth. We froze, our blood turning to ice. The eyes blinked, then vanished into the darkness. Terror lent speed to our steps. We had to get out of the woods. Just when we thought the night couldn't get any worse, we stumbled upon it, a small, dilapidated cabin half hidden amongst the trees. Its windows were dark, the door hanging precariously from its hinges.
"Let's keep moving," I urged, my voice tight with fear.
But my brother's curiosity was piqued. He approached the cabin, his hand hovering over the rusted doorknob. With a groan of protest, the door creaked open, revealing a darkness that seemed to pulse. The interior of the cabin was shrouded in dust and cobwebs. A musty smell, like that of old books and decay, permeated the air. The wooden floor creaked underfoot, and the dim light filtering through the grimy windows cast eerie shadows on the walls. It felt as though time had stood still in this forgotten place, preserving its secrets for those brave enough to uncover them.
In the center of the room, a single wooden table sat, illuminated by a sliver of moonlight. On top of it lay a leather-bound journal. The journal seemed to beckon us, its worn cover hinting at the countless hands that had held it before. The moonlight gave it an almost ethereal glow, making it the undeniable focal point of the room.
My brother reached for the journal, his fingers tracing the faded ink on its cover. He hesitated for a moment, as if sensing the weight of the history contained within its pages. The leather felt cool and smooth under his touch, and the faded ink hinted at stories long forgotten.
Inside, the pages were filled with spidery handwriting and strange symbols. Each page seemed to tell a different story, some written in languages we couldn't understand. The symbols were intricate and mesmerizing, drawing us deeper into the mystery. It was clear that this journal was no ordinary book. It held secrets that had been carefully guarded for generations.
One symbol in particular caught our eye, a spiral with a single eye at its center. It was the same symbol we had seen carved into the trees outside. The sight of it sent a shiver down our spines, as if the forest itself was watching us. We couldn't shake the feeling that we were being observed, that the journal had awakened something ancient and powerful.
Ominously, secrets buried in the forest. Beware the eye that watches. The words echoed in our minds, a warning that seemed to come from the very depths of the forest. The air grew colder, and the shadows seemed to lengthen, as if the forest itself was closing in on us.
The journal's message was clear, and it sent a chill down our spines. What had we stumbled upon? The forest seemed to hold its breath, waiting for our next move. We knew that we had uncovered something significant, something that could change everything we thought we knew about the world. The weight of the journal in our hands was a reminder of the responsibility we now carried. We had to uncover the truth, no matter the cost. The journey ahead was uncertain, but we were determined to see it through. The secrets in the journal were now our secrets, and we would do whatever it took to unravel them. As we flipped through the journal, a loose floorboard creaked beneath our feet. The sound was almost imperceptible, but in the stillness of the foggy forest it echoed like a whisper of a long-forgotten secret. We exchanged glances, our curiosity piqued by the unexpected noise. The journal, filled with cryptic notes and sketches, hinted at hidden mysteries, but we never imagined one would be right under our feet. With a groan it gave way, revealing a hidden passage beneath. The floorboard lifted easily, as if it had been disturbed many times before. The passage was dark and narrow, barely wide enough for a person to squeeze through. The air that wafted up from it was cool and carried a faint, musty smell like the breath of the forest itself. A soft, ethereal light emanated from the passageway. It was unlike any light we had ever seen, not quite natural, yet not entirely otherworldly. It shimmered and danced, casting strange shadows on the walls of the tunnel. The light seemed to call to us, promising answers to the questions that had been swirling in our minds since we first found the journal. It pulsed with an eerie rhythm, beckoning us closer. Each pulse seemed to synchronize with our heartbeats, drawing us in with an almost magnetic pull. The forest around us seemed to hold its breath, as if waiting to see what we would do next. The light was mesmerizing, and despite the unease it stirred within us, we felt compelled to follow it. Tentatively, we peered into the darkness. The passage seemed to stretch on forever, the light at the end a distant beacon. We hesitated, the unknown depths of the tunnel both frightening and intriguing. The journal had led us here, and now it seemed to be urging us to take the next step. We took a deep breath, steeling ourselves for whatever lay ahead. At the end of the short tunnel, a single glowing orb hovered in mid-air. It was about the size of a grapefruit, and its light was warm and inviting. The orb seemed to hum with energy, its surface swirling with colors that shifted and changed. It was beautiful and strange, and we couldn't help but reach out towards it, our fingers tingling with anticipation. Curiosity overriding caution, my brother knelt down and pried at the loose board. His hands trembled slightly, but his determination was clear. The board came up easily, revealing more of the hidden passage. We both leaned in, our eyes wide with wonder and fear. The journal had hinted at secrets, but this was beyond anything we had imagined. We both looked down to see a section of the floor that dipped slightly lower than the rest. It was as if the forest itself had conspired to hide this passage from the world. The dip was subtle, but now that we knew what to look for, it was unmistakable. We exchanged a final glance, a silent agreement passing between us. We were going to see this through, no matter where the passage led. Suddenly, a low growl echoed behind us.
We whirled around to find ourselves face to face with a grotesque, shadowy figure. Its eyes burned red in the darkness, and its jagged teeth were bared in a snarl.
Terror lent us wings. We scrambled to our feet and ran, the monstrous growl of the creature close behind.
We dodged through the trees, our lungs burning, the sound of our pursuers' heavy footsteps pounding in our ears. The forest seemed to stretch on forever, an endless maze of shadows and whispers. Each step we took felt like a journey into the unknown, where the trees loomed like silent sentinels, guarding their ancient secrets. Thorns tore at our clothes, branches whipped our faces. The forest was alive, it seemed, with a malevolent intent, as if it wanted to keep us within its grasp forever. Every scratch and cut was a reminder of the peril we faced, but we couldn't afford to stop.
But we didn't dare slow down, not with that thing on our heels. The fear was palpable, a living, breathing entity that pushed us forward. We could hear its footsteps, heavy and relentless, echoing through the fog. Our hearts pounded in our chests, a frantic rhythm that matched our desperate flight.
Finally, we burst out of the trees and into the blessed light of the moon. The transition was jarring, from the oppressive darkness to the serene glow of the night sky. It felt like a rebirth, a moment of pure relief, but we knew we couldn't let our guard down just yet. We didn't stop running until we reached the familiar dirt road leading back to town. The sight of the road was a beacon of hope, a promise of safety. Our legs burned with exhaustion, but the thought of reaching home kept us going. The town lights in the distance were like stars guiding us back to civilization. Gasping for breath, we risked a glance back at the forest. It stood there, dark and foreboding, a silent witness to our escape. The fog swirled around the trees, creating an eerie tableau that seemed almost otherworldly. We knew we had escaped, but the memory of the chase would haunt us forever. The trees stood silent, their secrets kept safe beneath a blanket of shadows. The forest, with all its mysteries and dangers, was behind us now, but its presence lingered in our minds. The moonlight filtered through the branches, casting a silver glow that seemed to promise peace, but we knew better. The night held its own secrets, and we had just begun to uncover them.
We never went back to the shadowed path. The memory of that night, of the glowing eyes and the growling creature, was enough to keep us far away.
But sometimes, late at night, I could swear I felt a presence watching me from the darkness beyond my window. And I would remember the symbol from the journal, the spiral with the single eye, and I would shudder. For I knew deep down that the forest had not finished with us yet.